One characteristic that wasn't mentioned that I've always thought was funny about students is they think anybody over 40 is old. Over 50 is real old. 60, older and older and older. And I just remember the time students would say to me, why is that 70-year-old patient having a hip replacement? You know, they'd be shocked that anybody over 50 or 60 would bother having something like that. And at this one point I was with students on an orthopedic unit where we had a lot of hip and knee replacements. And so this one time I came in to make our clinical assignments, and the nurses said to me, you know, we just admitted a woman who's 100 and she's going to have a total hip replacement. So I thought, okay, good. So I went in and I met her and I said to her, well, can you tell me why at 100 would you have a total hip replacement? And she said, I'm having trouble getting on and off of my motorcycle. Yeah. So, I mean, isn't that the spirit right there? So she's making choices today that will affect her tomorrow. And that's what we need to do. We need to make some of those choices. So he practiced it all night, went over, read all the anatomy. He knew exactly what he was going to do during that case. So he gets in there, and his chief is like standing off to the side watching how he handled the whole OR and what was going to go on. So he puts out his hand to the scrub nurse, and he says, Mayo. And she says, I think you mean the Kelly. She puts the Kelly in his hand. Puts out his hand again, Mayo. She says, I think you need another Kelly. He realized that this nurse with 30 years experience knew the entire case. So all he did was put out his hand, and she would put the instrument in. Sometimes he'd put out his hand and she'd go like this, look into the surgical site, and then put the instrument. They did the entire case without saying a word by him just putting out his hand. This nurse had walked him through the entire case and did that over 4 years. And when he graduated and got an award for excellence in surgery, got a medal and a monetary prize, he went back to that OR, gave her the medal and the monetary prize, and thanked her for teaching him surgery. So we do have expert power, and the doctors know it. And then I like the expression, even if you're good at something, it doesn't mean you should keep doing it. If you don't have the passion for it, you need to stop. And an example I always give this of a nurse that I met in Washington. She's a nurse practitioner. She said that she had been a nurse practitioner for a number of years, very successful as a nurse practitioner. But the last semester had the opportunity to fill in for a nurse educator and taught for a semester, and said to me, my passion is now in teaching. I am switching out of being a nurse practitioner. And there's a big pay cut if you go from being a nurse practitioner to a nurse educator. But she was passionate about it. So I think that's really important. And then even if you're not good at something, doesn't mean don't go after it. And I can give an example. I just recently spoke out in Salt Lake City at the Occupational Health Nurse Conference, and a former student of mine told me that she's in occupational health. She had gone to Lycoming, then she went to Bloomsburg, and then she was working in home health, and then happened to substitute in occupational health, for a weekend here and there. And then found she really liked occupational health. So she went into occupational health full-time, and then eventually was in a situation where she realized, she could have a business doing this occupational health. Because people are always saying, oh, we need you here, we need you to come here and do this. And so she, with 2 other people, started up a business. And as she said, she had no business background. She said she wished that she had had one of her master's degrees as an MBA. But that didn't hold her back. She went and she learned what she needed to do. She was passionate about the business. She is extremely successful. And she has an office in Lewisburg. She has one in State College. She has one somewhere else. She employs like 40 people because she was passionate about seeing a need for something and going after it, and not being afraid to say, I don't have all the skills that I need.